What's going on, friends? Hope you guys are doing awesome today. Man, T minus a few hours until I'm at Ride of Boom in Dallas. Shout out to me in chat if you're going to be at Ride of Boom. Maybe you're already connecting in Dallas, but I'm really excited for that. Andrew Morgan has put on an amazing show, and I can't wait to be there. It's going to be super fun. I'm going to be the MC for the event, so I'm going to be covering down on all the talks, bringing people up, letting people walk out, and just really keeping that thing going. I am really excited. I've seen the content. It's really good. I'm not going to spoil anything, but there's some guests that are coming. The who's who in security are all going to be there. It's just going to be an amazing time. So I cannot wait. It's going to be jack full of just awesomeness. So really excited about that. Michael Bonza, thanks for showing up for us today. Good to see you on. Eddie Phillips, what's going on as well? Eddie, I can't wait to see you at Ride of Boom. It's going to be great. Ibukum, good to see you as well. So we're going to be covering today some cybersecurity stuff. You guys know I'm a cybersecurity person by trade. I'm bringing all my channels in on this today, so it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm also going to cover for you crypto folks. I've got one piece of news we're going to cover in crypto as well, which I think is pretty interesting and kind of funny, but also worth covering as well. Eddie, you can always have my autograph, but I don't know if you really want that, my friend. I don't think that's going to get you anywhere. Yeah, of course. But you'll have to trade. You have to give me your autograph too. How about that? We'll just swap them. But yeah, if you're going to be in Dallas, can't wait to see you. It's going to be a great event. Super fun. Okay, so without any other ado, let's just jump right into the news, shall we? Let's jump into a few different things that are happening. I want to unpack some things that I think are pretty relevant in the news cycle. So I'm going to turn chat off just for a minute while you guys are all watching, and I'm going to share my screen out. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is this right here. So this all comes from Bleeping Computer and a bunch of other news sources. How many of you have seen in the news that GoDaddy was hit with an attack? I don't know if you have, but this is a really big deal. And the reason it's a big deal is because it has a lot of implications inside of this. It's not just that GoDaddy was hit. It's the implication of what bad guys were thinking and what they were doing when this attack happened. So let's take a look at this. I want to cover this a little bit more. So web hosting giant GoDaddy says it suffered a breach where unknown attackers have stolen source code and installed malware on its servers. Okay, so sounds normal so far, right? Like that's just the normal thing. That's what always happens. All right. And then what's crazy to me though is not the fact that they were hit with, that their source code was stolen, not that malware was installed on servers. That happens all the time. That's been happening for decades. Here's a couple things. The first thing that kind of was like, wait, what? Do you spot what I spot right here? After breaching its cPanel shared hosting environment in a multi-year hack. It's like, wait, hold on just a second. There are so many things that are inside of this that we've got to cover. First of all, okay, cPanel, like, does anyone remember cPanel from the old days? I'm like, really? The cPanel is still a thing that's still around, still being used by GoDaddy of all places? They go to great lengths if they're using cPanel to like hide cPanel with, I guess, a web UI front end. I mean, I don't know. I'm not hating, but I'm definitely making fun. Like cPanel, when I think cPanel, I think 2001, right? I remember thinking cPanel was a game changer because no more like, Linux or Unix commands on my web server anymore. It would just do a lot of it for me. This is not 2001. This is 2023. So I'm like, so your cPanel got breached? What are you even using cPanel? Like what? And then the other thing that was big, I don't know if you saw this or not, but let me pull this one up too. Not just that, in a multi-year attack. Oh my gosh, a multi-year attack. Okay, so this is something that happened years ago, not days ago, not weeks ago, not months ago, years ago. This is something that happened, and we're just now hearing about it. Like that's an issue. We've talked for years in the cybersecurity world about how these things, when it comes to attacks, it can be months of lag time before a company realizes. In GoDaddy's case, years. Super crazy. Based on our investigation, we believe these incidents are part of a multi-year campaign by a sophisticated threat actor. And I'm just like, wait. How sophisticated do you really have to be if you can like breach a company like GoDaddy and be resident and install your malware on servers for years. Like, I don't guess you have to be that sophisticated, especially if it got in by breaching cPanel. It's not like these guys. Look, who's to say, right? I tend to like not want to come down on any company that's gone through a breach because I know the pain and turmoil that causes. I really do. But at some point, you have to say this was years. This happened from allegedly access through cPanel. And again, years. So I don't know how sophisticated these guys actually had to be. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, among other things, installed malware on our systems and obtained pieces of code related to some services within GoDaddy, that hosting firm said in an SEC filing. So did we find out about this because of an SEC filing? Is that how this was made known? Well, that's interesting. Here is the actual 10K. So this is the annual form that any publicly traded company has to fill out. It's called the 10K. They are public. You can get them from SEC's Edgar, or you can just Google for them and get them from like Yahoo Finance or any of those places. So this is interesting. Tristan, what's going on? It's good to see you on. Thanks for saying hi. Man, Tristan and I worked together at Perch for years. He is absolutely an awesome dude. Tristan, been way too long, my friend. Sure hope you're doing great. Thanks for jumping in and saying hi. So here's something that's interesting. I'm going to scroll down and I want to show a couple things in this 10K, right? So when you bring all this up, this is not a finance channel, right? I'm not talking about any of this stuff, but 10Ks are interesting because they have to go beyond just how they're performing financially. They even go into, you see these right here, risk factors, item 1A. Let's go look at their risk factors. This is pretty interesting. So if we scroll down, some of the normal stuff, especially the things you'd expect to see out of someone like GoDaddy, in the sense of like, hey, if we can't retain customers and, obviously this whole age of AWS and Azure, like, are we really going to survive in this day and age, right? For sure, that's all there. But look at this. I'm going to go down a little bit further. And this isn't a 10K, guys. Like, this is an annual SEC report, this annual filing. Here's what gets really interesting here. Let's take a peek at this. Where is it? There it is. A security breach, hopefully, I don't know if my highlight's going to work. There we go. A security breach or other data security incident could delay or interrupt service to our customers, harm our reputation, or subject us to significant liability. There it is. That's interesting, right? The security of our confidential or personal information, blah, blah, blah. If all our confidential information, I'll just say it that way, that's stored in our systems is breached or otherwise subjected to unauthorized access, or our reputation may be harmed and we may be exposed to liability. And all I can think of is, yeah, you think? Like, for sure. That literally just happened. If you go further down in the K1, it's kind of like, they're like, this could be a risk for us. And oh yeah, it is a risk. It did happen years ago from cPanel. And just letting you know, it happened. But you shouldn't be too worried. All I can think of is a legacy company like GoDaddy that's probably already struggling in market share and getting eaten alive by newer people and competitors galore. They recognize the impact to their reputation should they be hit with a network attack. And they were hit with a network attack. I guess my point is this. Reading this in a 10K and an actual SEC filing is interesting to me because we're seeing just how important cybersecurity is. It takes center stage. It is a board level, investor level topic. This is something that matters. No company today, big or small, can say cybersecurity does not matter for my company. This is it's going to have ramifications for GoDaddy. It's going to have challenges for them. In fact, watch this. Let me just show you this. Here's what's interesting. Let me show you just how important this is. I'm going to Control F here. Let's find the word breach in their 10K filing. 32, 3, you had to keep counting. 33. There are 33 instances of the word breach. Now, some of it might be like breach of contract, things like that. But cyber breach is all throughout this 10K filing by GoDaddy. This is important stuff. This is critical stuff. So this happened. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about when it comes to this whole thing is what bad guys are thinking here. Like, why go after GoDaddy? Why is that so important to them? Why is this such a big deal? Why am I covering this on my channel? Well, take a look at this. We know that they're going after this because look at this. They gained access to email addresses of all impacted customers, including mine, because I've used GoDaddy, their WordPress admin passwords. What? What? That's not good. SFTP, like file service, like how do you connect and send files, database credentials, and private keys of a subset of active emails. Oh my goodness, right? And then also GoDaddy also found additional evidence that these threat actors have a broader campaign targeting other hosting companies worldwide over the years. Now, why do you think that is? Why is that happening? Why is this an issue? Why is this occurring? Well, I'll tell you why. Because bad guys are interested in leveraging access. Because bad guys, what they want to do is they want to get access not to one company, but to thousands of companies. And so we call these things supply chain attacks, which makes GoDaddy and anyone else in that subset, like Wix and all those others, absolute avenues for attack. Because if I can go after them and then I can install malware on myriad systems, I have spread my nasty little cyber evil hacker fingers everywhere. And I'm getting really deep, wide access. That is something you should be scared about. That is something you should be concerned about because here I am as, let's say, a CPA, and I go to GoDaddy and I buy my CPA, westcpa.com domain, and then I pop, would you like a free website? Yes, I sure would. Click right in there, right? And then now I've got my CPA firm set up and people are using this and connecting in and maybe even logging in for file shares or whatever. And I don't even know it because I didn't really do anything wrong. And now malware is installed on my website and it's doing nasty things. Now, how does that affect you? Are you liable? Is a company going to come after you because there's some amount of like a data breach that happened because it was all through GoDaddy? I mean, who's responsible here? You, GoDaddy, the client, everybody involved? Like, this is the stuff that gets scary. If you're an MSP listening today, you should have your ears perked up because you've been concerned about this stuff for years as well, haven't you? Things like what's been happening with all the big breaches that have happened over the years with Kaseya and ConnectWise and SolarWinds. They've all been targets and they will be targets again. Same with everybody else. I'm not picking on those three companies. Other companies that you've never heard of will probably also be attacked. Others that are doing all the right things may still get popped because bad guys say, if I can focus on one company and get access to thousands of others, why would I not do that? Certainly it attracts attention from these threat actors. So that's why I wanted to cover this. This GoDaddy thing is a big deal. And I don't know how long it's going to take for us to see all the ramifications out of it, but it's a real big deal. I'm going to open chat back up again. I want to know, do you have questions, thoughts about this? Pop them in. There's a whole bunch of you listening right now. So curious if you knew about the GoDaddy attack, curious if you're concerned about it, curious if your clients are using it and if you need to go talk to them. There's just a lot of output out of this that you really got to be thinking about to say, what am I going to do about this? What am I going to say about this? So give me some comments and feedback. I'd love to know kind of what your brain is thinking about when it comes to this. Now, a couple other things we're going to talk about is we're gonna dive into a couple just other pieces of news that I think are really, really important here. One of those is let's bring this back up here. All right, here we go. One of those is this one right here. Novel spy group targets telecoms in precision targeted cyber attacks. Now, this is mostly telecoms in the Middle East. All right, so not US. These threat actors are apparently going after some companies in the in the Middle East, which is that's what they're focusing on, right? But the reason I'm talking about this is this goes part and parcel to what I just talked about. Again, if I can go after telecoms who have access to thousands of other clients, I can do some pretty scary stuff, can I? A previously unknown threat actor is targeting telecom companies. Researchers from Sentinel-1 saw this. They're tracking it as WIP or WIP26. It's just a designation for who these bad guys are. It doesn't really matter too much. And they're talking about what they're actually doing. They're delivering malware, storing exfiltrated data, command and control purposes. They assess that the threat actor is using this tactic, like many others do, to evade detection. Now, why are they targeting these Middle Eastern telecoms because they want access. It's less about the telecom and more about their access. These are the things we've got to consider. These are the things that we have to concern ourselves with. Supply chain is going to become a more and more and more important issue. The dark reading goes on to cover a little bit more about this. This is not new. We've seen these things happen before. A bunch of Australian telecom companies, Optus, Telestra, Dialog, were attacked. Sometimes they're going after the SIM swapping capabilities of these security these vendors, so that if they get access to the ability to actually switch a SIM card, they can bypass multi-factor that uses SMS. There's just a lot of access that these kinds of things can leverage, and that's a pretty scary thing. Okay, so just wanted to really make sure we dive into supply chain, because supply chain is a really big thing, and it's a really big issue that you really, really, really need to think about when it comes to designing security and understanding where you fit in the supply chain. All right. So going further in the news, Burton snowboards. Everyone loves Burton, right? Especially this ski time of year. Of course, I live in Tampa, and the mountains here haven't quite snowed over yet, which is really sad. But this is an interesting one. Even Burton snowboards can be hit by something. Isn't that crazy? Burton Snowboards, favorite brand for downhill shredders, blah, 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 has closed down its e-commerce operations due to a cyber incident. I wonder what kind of cyber incident that was. Probably a ransomware, right? In a system outage, the Burlington-based company noted that a February 14th, sad day, Valentine's Day, what a day to be hit, continues to impact some of our operations. We're working closely with others to determine the impact, but everything is offline. Why does this matter? Why am I talking about this? Because if Burton can be hit, you can be hit. Literally, what did I say at the beginning of this live stream? Literally, cybersecurity matters for everybody. It's a big deal for you, for me, for everybody. It's a colossal big deal. So there you have it. Like even Burton can get hit by something like this. It shut down their online ordering system. I wonder how much money they lost, especially in skiing season. Like probably a lot. And these are the things that we've got to think about when it comes to, if everybody could be hit, I could be hit. If I could be hit, what would it count for me? What would it do for me? How much damaging operations would it cause for me? Those are things that you've got to think about when you're designing cybersecurity defenses and you're thinking about what kind of investment do I need to put in to protect my company. That's what's got to go through your brain. What's the output of the attack? It's not just being hit by ransomware, for example. It's not just paying a ransom, for example. It's all the aftermath and output, not just reputational damage that GoDaddy talked about, but also the outage times, the lost business that comes through. In my data, about 16 days is the average outage time for a significant ransomware attack. What's your business going to do with 16 days of outage? That's take your revenue and slash it in half for the month. How does that impact you? A lot. So this is why it matters for everybody, big and small, from Burton to GoDaddy to telecoms in the Middle East. It matters for everybody. It really, really does. Okay, so let's go on to the next news item I've got for you. This one's a really interesting one. Anyone ever heard of MyloBot? I'll be honest, I haven't. MyloBot is pretty new, or I'm sorry, not pretty new, but it's growing like wildfire. Look at this. It comes from the Hacker News. MyloBot is infecting over 50,000 devices daily, folks. Daily, 50,000 devices daily. Dude, there are companies out there that would love to have their agents and their software installed on 50,000 devices daily. And this is dang malware where this is happening. This is wild to me. All right. So let's jump into this one just a little bit more. Sophisticated. Let's see if we can zoom in a little bit here to help your eyes. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Sophisticated botnet known as MyloBot. It's compromising systems everywhere. India, the US, Indonesia, Iran. I guess that's a good way of saying like everybody, right? Everywhere. It's according to new findings from BitSite. It's currently seeing more than 50,000 infected a day, down from a high of 250,000 unique hosts in 2020. So, wow. This is spreading wide. Now, if it's going to 50,000 a day, what that means is some of the targets are high value. Some are probably just like literally your grandma's Gateway 2000 computer, running Windows ME from years ago. I'm just joking, but it's going to be low value targets as well. That's kind of how botnets work. They're literally spreading to as many hosts as they can, just like a virus. Some are going to be high value, some are not. Let's see. It's Let me skip down here a little bit. So it first emerged in 2017. So MyloBot's been around for quite some time, way back, in the age of a lot of the other botnets that were big. And so what makes this one unique is its ability to download and execute any type of payload after it infects a host. So it's very flexible. It's probably why it's lasted from 2017 to now. Is it's very easy for it to spread. It can be adapted to spread more easily, and it can literally do just about anything once it infects a host. And so one of the things it's been doing lately is, say last year, it was using those endpoints to send emails out. And those emails coming out were it's like a financially motivated campaign seeking over $2,700 in Bitcoin. So it kind of shows how the whole thing works. Now, here's what they probably mean by this. They don't say exactly, but when you hear like $2,700 in Bitcoin, that's a small value. So it's probably one of those scams. You've probably gotten them before, and they'll say things like, you'll get an email from somebody that says, hey, we have access to your computer and we saw you looking at, illicit videos, the kind, and we have access of you doing things while watching those videos. Just trying to be G rated here, maybe PG rated. And unless you pay us $2,700 in Bitcoin, we're going to release those videos to everybody. And people are like, oh no, they found me. They caught me. I better pay up because I'm scared that they found one of the things I was doing behind the scenes. Well, there's a lot to say about the things you're doing behind the scenes. We'll skip that and we'll just go to this. That stuff is just pure scam. They have no access to your computer. They don't have those videos, those extortions, those like consumer-based extortions. People fall for them left and right. And they're like, well, I don't want that to be leaked because what would that look like for my reputation? So then they pay $2,700 in Bitcoin and literally nothing ever happens because they never had anything in the first place. So that's MyloBot has been used to send those kinds of extortions out. Isn't that interesting? That's very, very interesting. So let's go back to this a little bit. So when you have access to 50,000 new hosts a day, imagine the things you can do with that. And it's not just sending out stupid emails like that. It can also be other things that are pretty scary. Like if I have access to, look at the spread of this thing. I mean, it's everywhere now. I can use this. What if I'm carving through this and I'm looking specifically for Windows servers or domain controllers? What if I'm looking for like Windows Enterprise, Windows 10 or 11 enterprise machines? So now I'm carving through the data of the tens of thousands of endpoints I have access to. And now I'm looking for high value targets. Why am I doing that? Because I'm looking to say, has MyloBot been installed on computers that, if I'm a bad guy, maybe I sell to somebody else. There's a whole industry here that does this. I don't know if you know that they're called initial access brokers. And these are bad guys that just get access. And then they go looking for value targets out of that wide swath of access. And then they go sell it to ransomware actors. So they're like, hey, I've breached this computer. It belongs to this company. This is the kind of company that it is. And because it's worth this much, I'm going to sell this access for X amount of dollars. And then a ransomware actor says, I'll take that. They go and grab that access. They pay for it in Bitcoin from one bad guy to another. And then they use that to run their ransomware. And they don't even have to break into the computer. All the hard work has been done. That's literally how this stuff happens. So this is why these are really dangerous. You need to really think through, what am I doing about botnets? Do I have the ability to detect them? Can I do something about them? Those are things that are really, really, really important. You really want to kind of think through and address. So MyloBot been growing like wildfire, and wanted to make sure I covered that news item as well. All right, so now time for a big one. A really, really, really big news item. So this one right here, Google reveals alarming surge in Russian cyber attacks against Ukraine. Interesting. There's a ton of stuff packed into this that I want to make sure we really cover and jump into. Okay, so let's do that right now. Let's kind of dive into a couple different things here. Russia's cyber attacks against Ukraine have surged by 250% in 2022. That's a big percentage increase, right? And I think that I think that makes sense, right? I think we get that it would grow by that much, given that you're in the middle of an actual physical kinetic war, that cyber would come with it. But there's a lot more to the story than just an increase in attacks, okay? And so I want to cover that too. I want to make sure we cover that. So let me get back to this here. Let me get back to my computer. Okay. There we go. Sorry about that. Sorry for waiting. Okay. So let's go back to this. Where were we? The attack which coincided and has since persisted following the military invasion of Ukraine, focused heavily on Ukrainian government and military entities, critical infrastructure, basically going after everybody, right? And this makes sense, right? That you're going to have cyber combined with kinetic warfare. We've always known this was an eventual outcome, but we're seeing this come full circle. And this is a really interesting thing for nation states to really, like the US, for example, to really focus on this and say, let's use this to understand what would happen should another huge mega kinetic war occur between major powers. Like I don't want to say World War III because I'm not trying to spin up, politics and division, not trying to, but some kind of big conflict. If we were to have another big conflict, what does the inclusion of cyber warfare on top of kinetic warfare look like? We've never seen that in full scale yet. We've always seen nation states going after each other as part of espionage, as part of those kinds of things. But what about a no holds bar? We're in a physical conflict with a major country, and they also have cyber capabilities. What does that look like? Well, we get a glimpse of what this looks like in the Ukrainian conflict. That's why this is so important. That's why I'm covering this. Okay. So let me go back to this and let's dive in a little bit more. The most destructive cyber attacks during the first 4 months of 2022 than the previous 8 years since the start of the invasion. And what's happening here is a lot of these are wiper strains. If you don't know what wipers are, these are like basically malware that's not going after, it's not trying to ransom you. It's literally just trying to delete everything. It's literally just think of it like the old school viruses that just delete everything that's out there. So if you want to look at some of these Whispergate, Hermetic Wipers, so on and so forth, have been deployed against Ukrainian networks, suggesting a willingness on the part of Russian threat actors to forego persistent access. In other words, what that means is basically the bad guys are saying, look, we're not trying to like get access and stay resident, like the GoDaddy stuff I started this with. They're like, no, this is smash and grab. We want in, we're going to deploy our wipers and we're going to wipe everything out and we're just going to move on. We are just trying to disrupt you. We're trying to cause outages. I don't even care how much of the outage it is. I just want to destroy as much as I can. I want to throw that cyber bomb in there and just let it do what it can do. That's what they're doing. That's what they're going after. Really interesting. Because that's what's going to happen in a real, true cyber war. Imagine US versus some other country, and we're throwing those cyber attacks at each other. And you just have, just like, you have kinetic war where bombs are being dropped on cities and it's so destructive. The same exact thing that happens in a cyber war, the exact same thing that's happening is where they're just trying to destroy as much as they can. They're trying to eliminate access. They're trying to just kill out systems as much as they possibly can, no matter what it is. It's indiscriminate. That's what happens. And so we're seeing this happen. Also, phishing attacks aimed at NATO countries, 300% spike over the same period. These efforts were driven by a Belarusian government-backed group dubbed as Pushka? Pushka? Pushka. We're going to call them Pushka. It's kind of fun to say. Sounds like babushka or whatever. Pushka, that's aligned with Russia. So they've also been doing some phishing attacks, this group. Okay. So let's take a look as we peer down here. This graph is really, really interesting. Okay. So here's what happened. Here's the volume of cyber attacks that Google had been seeing over the past, couple of years. And we see here's where Russia began to align troops on the Ukrainian border. So we all knew, something bad is about to happen. All the news agencies spin up. What's Russia going to do? Are they going to go after Ukraine? Are they actually going to invade? But as they're lining up onto the border, look what happens before the conflict starts. Phishing campaigns begin. So we see access being obtained. We see a run up to getting access in. Isn't that interesting? So again, going back to like using this as a scenario, as a tabletop of what would happen. You see a spike in nation state-based attacks, especially phishing. That could be an interesting sign that something physical may follow later. They're intertwined deeply. So let's go back and let's see what else happened. So phishing attacks begin. Then in September, Frozen Lake, it's one of these threat actors over there, sends credential phishing emails to 14,000 recipients globally. So you can see major pickups in attack. I mean, these spike. The reason they're showing these little orange red balloons here is because a huge spike in the volume of attacks, right? We have been kind of low and then boom, something really high, going back to low, and then boom. So what's happening is they're working behind the scenes, getting ready to stage something, and boom, they send all of this out. And then we go quiet again, and then the physical attack begins, the actual physical invasion. And then we see right on the heels of these physical invasion, the kinetic war, we see more attacks occurring, and the volume continues to pick back up and largely stays pretty high. And they're still continuing going after. And so this is really interesting. And they're doing a lot of different things. GRU sponsored actors have been used to steal sensitive information, also to release it to the public to push out a narrative. So you see like information warfare going on. How can we like turn the narrative? We're seeing a lot of that stuff going on. Political allegiances. I'm not going to read the rest of this. There's a lot of stuff packed into here. But what's really great about this article, and you should go read it, is it really shows us this combination, as I said before, the intertwining of kinetic and cyber warfare all together. That is the outcome that's going to happen. One of the things people ask me a lot on the insurance side is, Wes, what does that mean? Because we're seeing like Lloyd's of London and others put out these clauses where cyber insurance will not cover a cyber attack as a part of war. This is what we're talking about. This is that picture. It's not so much a Russian bad guy breached your network and you got hit with ransomware and they're going to call that an act of war. No, that's not really the focus. Why those things are being drawn up. They're being drawn up because in the eventual outcome of a physical war and a cyber war, you're going to see attacks happen where like a company, just a regular for-profit private company, is hit by some wiper is part of physical war and everything's deleted. That's the stuff that the insurance companies are saying, we're not going to cover that stuff because that's going to happen in mass and that's going to happen everywhere. And that's going to be so damaging. There's not enough insurance money to go cover that. That's kind of the focus and the target. And so this is what we're thinking about as a nation. We're like I said before, glimpsing into this conflict, and it's giving us an opportunity to see what a true kinetic war plus a cyber war looks like. And I really wanted to cover that on this channel today because I don't think we've seen its like. I don't think we've seen anything like it ever before, which is completely wild to me. Completely wild. Okay, so let's move on a little bit more. I want to cover something just funny that I think is ridiculous. So we have insurance for all kinds of stuff, right? We mean to have insurance for flood, for your home, for life, for health, all these things, right? The insurance exists everywhere. We even have it in cybersecurity. If you're looking for good cybersecurity insurance, check out my friends at Fifth Wall Solutions. I guess I'm paid to sponsor to say that in the sense that that's like where my full-time job is right now, is working with Fifth Wall Solutions. So, but check us out. We'll help you if you're looking for cyber insurance. There's nobody better than us. But did you also know that you can insure your NFT, your non-fungible token? So NFTs become so passé. They went from being like what is this NFT thing people are talking about to like everyone talking about the newest, coolest NFT and the huge run up of crypto. And then once crypto took a nosedive from horrible companies like Celsius and FTX and all these that just completely nosedive from doing unethical, if not illegal practices, leaving people like you and me in the ditch, all of a sudden NFTs are like passé, right? Like no one wants NFTs. Like people really, NFTs really. Now I realize that there are use cases for NFTs beyond just trading and collecting. I know that. But largely NFTs have just dropped in price. So did you know though, that you can actually get cyber insurance for your NFT? Isn't that interesting? So I suppose you're like worried about, your NFTs being stolen, which is a real deal thing. But here's my thinking. Who on planet Earth would want to insure an NFT? Well, I guess the ones that would are the ones that have dropped stupid amounts of cash buying their NFTs. And then I'm thinking, but on the insurer side, who's stupid enough to take that risk? Like NFTs are being stolen all the time. This like the cybercrime in the crypto world is off the charts. My friends at Coveware, the last studies they did showed that crypto-based cybercrime is more damaging than ransomware, just in terms of dollar values. You have these big companies that a lot of people are using, a lot of these gaming companies. I covered one on my YouTube channel a while back on Axie Infinity. I don't play that game, but all the kids do. I think it's like the cool game or whatever. So Axie Infinity got hacked. I think the total damages were $600 million in one attack. Mind blowing to me. So these crypto companies are definitely being hacked. So if I'm an insurance carrier, I don't understand why anybody would take this risk to like, because NFTs are just right here on my phone. So like, it's pretty easy to steal them. All it takes is a good phishing email to trick someone into like giving up their seed or thinking they have to reauthorize their private wallet, and they're doing it in a malicious place, and they put in the recovery seed keys to like recover to reinstall their wallet, and then they're giving it to a bad guy and off it goes. Poof. That easy. It's literally that easy. So I don't know. If I'm a carrier and I had millions and millions and millions of dollars to invest, the last thing I'm going to do is like, hey guys, I got a great idea. Let's open up a new insurance line to insure NFTs. That sounds super smart. The only way I would do that is like if I make sure that I don't pay out on damages of people's stupidity, of like if you lose your NFTs because of like you got phished. I'm not paying out on that. That's the only way I would do it. I'm mind blowing that people would offer that. I think it's so funny. So anyway, here it is. I wanted to bring back the article. I don't get it. Right. But here's the funny thing too about NFTs. You know what I would do? Maybe you can use this as a, oops, I had NFT insurance and my NFT got hacked, and, you know, my crappy investment that I spent, you know, 50,000 buying an NFT and now it's worth 20,000. It got hacked. So please give me my 50,000 back. Like that's the only outcome I can see people leveraging this is, oops, I accidentally gave up my credentials and someone accidentally stole my NFT and it's gone forever. Better give me some money back. Like that's the only reason I could see anyone want to do this, right? To total wash the system out, which is illegal, by the way. But I could see that. And, you know, even people like Justin Bieber, oh, poor, can we just have a moment of silence for the sadness of Justin Bieber? This is such a heartbreaking article for a guy like him. Justin Bieber bought a Bored Ape NFT in January for 1.3 million. That's likely worth about $70,000 in the wake of the NFT collapse. This cracks me up. Boy, poor Justin Bieber. You know, what is he going to do having lost basically $1 million? What's the guy going to do? Does everyone feel as bad for him as I feel? I'm, of course, being sarcastic here, right? But not exactly one of the top 10 moves that Justin Bieber's made. I wouldn't go talk to Justin Bieber for financial advice. Clearly, a guy who spent, you know, 1.3 million and summarily lost it just months later. Didn't lose the NFT, but it lost its value. And this is really the truth. I mean, look, here's Bored Ape right here. I don't know if you want to see these, but these are the actual Bored Ape NFTs. And if we go to items, right now, they're being sold for the low price of about 78 ETH. I've got this sorted on low to high. I mean, you could switch this in high to low. Let's see what the high is. The high is, this is stupid. No one is paying this. People are just inflating this, hoping someone would buy them, but in the thousands of ETH. But on the low side, where people actually are expecting to sell one of their NFTs, these Bored Apes right here, 78, the low price of 78 ETH. So if you want to know what that's worth, here's my ETH to US dollar converter. So we said it was 78.8 ETH. So let's do that. That's the low price of 130K. So there you go. Bored Apes are trading right now at about 130,000. When before they were trading for way higher than that. They were up into the millions of dollars, as you saw our genius friend Justin Bieber. So if we look at this over here, I want to show this. Here's the activity. You even see the ups and downs over here. I just think it's fascinating to see how much they've really fallen off. Both the volume and the number of transactions have really fallen off of late. And so there you have it. Bored Apes are not worth exactly as much as you'd think that they ought to be worth. Actually, let me reverse that statement. They've never been worth any of this number ever. But the fact that, you know, the crypto market's falling apart and geniuses like Justin Bieber dropping $1 million down to 70,000, you know, I guess there's a need to have, you know, these insurance for your NFTs, right? And by the way, just because I think it's interesting, if we go back and look, this is what's staggering to me. Creator earnings. So these guys are making 2.5% every time a Bored Ape NFT sells. The creators make 2.5% commission every time there's a buy and sell. And if you look at the activity right here, look at all the transactions. So they're making 2.5% off 130K, 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 130K over and over and over. I mean, this is nuts to me. Imagine the amount of money these people are making is just wild to me on the Bored Ape side. So they're still raking in money hand over fist and they don't care. And these things are happening minutes ago. Just since we've started the live stream, they've made probably more money than some people are making in a year, just from my live stream alone. It's wild to me. So yeah, there is cyber insurance for NFTs. Pretty wild stuff. So there you have it on the news roundup on some interesting things that are happening. GoDaddy being hit. We covered some spy groups going after some of the telecoms. The big stories in those two things are, of course, that leveraging access, supply chain attacks matter. We covered Burton Snowboards. They've been hit by ransomware. If they're going to hit with something, you're going to get hit with something. It happens to us all. We talked about botnets. Botnets are still growing. We talked about the MyloBot, its level of access, how scary that is. And we really dove deep into the Ukrainian conflict and what that looks like as a picture of true cyber war, and the thing that the cyber insurance carriers are scared about, the thing that nation states are scared about, and just how unready we are for those kinds of things. So that's all I've got. I'm going to open up chat. I don't know if anyone has any questions. If you got comments, you got thoughts, bunch of folks that are on here. So let me know if you want to know anything more, you want to talk, got some questions for me, be happy to answer anything that you may have for me. It might be crypto related. It might be cybersecurity related. Don't really care. Let me know. And I'd love to answer anything that you would like to know. So I just think these news articles are pretty interesting. And the one I think, if I had to pick one of all of these, I'm the most interested in, it's definitely the Ukrainian conflict one. I mean, we've just been talking about this since the 1980s and 1990s of what a cyber war would look like, and pretty wild stuff. This should be required listening for everyone in the cybersecurity industry. Thanks. You know what you can do to make that happen? Whoever you are, mysterious LinkedIn user, is tell you how you make it required reading. Just go share it out. Just go let other people. Let me see if I can find out who this actually was for the comment, so I can name drop you, because appreciate you saying it. I don't know. I don't know who you are, but just share this out. What you can do is just hit the share button, share it with your network, and say, hey, great live stream. Go listen to this. That goes a long way for me. So I really appreciate that. Eric checking in. Eric is a good friend of mine. Man, Eric is doing some awesome stuff. Check out what Eric's doing with Vosa. He's just released some really cool stuff. This is the talk track every MSP and SI should be pushing in front of their customer. The way you're talking about this, Wes, is understandable and consumable by a business that doesn't need to understand. Thanks. Appreciate that. Eric, you nailed. That's really what I'm trying to do, is just sort of demystify and just bring this down to a conversant level. Almost like not like a table level, but like a dinner table level, but just a simple way for us to talk, for anyone to understand why cyber is so important, because it is a boardroom discussion. If you're not talking about it that way, you need to be. Brad Gross, that was Brad. Brad, you always show up as anonymous. I love your OPSEC you got. If you guys are looking, and I'm not being paid to say this, but if you're looking for a lawyer that really understands cyber, Brad's your guy. Go talk to Brad. If you're an MSP and you haven't had anyone go look at your MSAs in quite some time, go talk to Brad. Brad's awesome. This is what he does. He knows it well. Brad, I really need to have you on a live stream with me at some point. That'd be a lot of fun for us just to talk together and let you share from your perspective, and as an attorney, your perspective on cybersecurity on any of these topics. It'd be a lot of fun. So Brad, thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing. If anyone else has any questions, jump in, pop them in. They should come through. Be happy to answer anything else you guys have. I got a few more minutes left here. So if you're firing away very quickly to get that out there, just get the typos. Don't worry about the typos. Just fire it out and get it going for me. Let's pop in some music while we're waiting a little bit, because the music was rocking today. There we go. Yeah, that's it for the news. So if no one else has any other comments, it's been a lot of fun. Like I said before, the one thing you could do to pay me back was very simple. Just go and share this out. Just hit the share button and let everyone know that you listened to it, and maybe a comment or two and what you liked about it really goes a long way for me. All right, I'm going to be dropping into Dallas the rest of this week. I'm really excited about that. Can't wait to meet so many of you. If you're there, shout out, come see me, come say hi. I'd love to shake your hand. Love to meet you. I'm still, like, from this post-pandemic era, meeting so many people for the first time, which is really exciting. So very excited to go see all of you, and it's going to be a wild week. So all right, guys, thank you so very much for your time today. It's been awesome. I will see you after Dallas. Probably won't do any live streaming, anything like that the rest of this week because of everything going on. But until then, I will see you guys later. Thanks.